guys don't know, yes, the Bugatti has been crashed.
On that chassis number of vehicle, they will not supply any component through a Bugatti dealership.
And if you want to repair that properly, you can't do that in a garage. There's just a few places in the world with the right equipment and only a few people in the world with the right training to be able to do that.
A crashed Bugatti should be the end of the story. These cars aren't meant to be rebuilt outside the factory, and once they're written off, they tend to disappear without much noise. But this one didn't. This wrecked Bugatti ended up in the hands of YouTuber Matt Armstrong, and he made a call almost nobody would make with a car like this. He decided to rebuild it himself, without factory backing and without Bugatti signing off on it. That choice changed everything. Parts suddenly weren't available. Repair costs shot up fast. Bugatti stepped in and made it clear they didn't believe this car should ever go back on the road. And just like that, it stopped being a simple rebuild. It turned into a very public standoff between a YouTuber and one of the most exclusive car brands in the world, with a $6 million Bugatti right in the middle. Matt Armstrong wasn't some random YouTuber who stumbled into this. Rebuilding wrecked cars is literally what built his channel. Over the years, he's taken on everything from everyday BMWs to high-strung Lamborghinis, tearing them down, fixing what everyone else wrote off, and putting them back on the road. That hands-on approach, mixed with a calm, problem-solving mindset, turned him into a familiar name in the car world. Millions of people watch his videos not just for the cars, but to see if something that looks completely finished can actually be saved. So when news started circulating that a rare Bugatti Chiron Persport had been wrecked and was effectively headed for the scrap pile, Armstrong didn't see a dead end. He saw the biggest challenge of his career, a chance to do something no one had really attempted on YouTube before. What he didn't expect was that this rebuild would put him on a direct collision course with Bugatti itself. The car at the center of it all was no ordinary vehicle. It was a Bugatti Chiron Persport, one of just 60 ever made. When new, it carried a price tag of around $3.6 million. And on the collector market, its value has often been placed much higher. With 1,500 horsepower and extreme engineering throughout, it's about as exclusive as modern cars get. That's why the crash shocked so many people. The Persport, owned by Florida-based influencer Alex Gonzalez, was involved in what should have been a minor accident, colliding with the back of a small truck worth only a few $1,000s. Despite the low speed, the damage to the Bugatti was severe. The front end was crushed, carbon fiber panels were shattered, airbags were deployed, and key structural components were damaged, including sections of the front frame. Early inspection suggested that nearly everything ahead of the windshield was destroyed, and there were even concerns about cracks in the carbon fiber monocoque chassis. Both headlights were gone, the signature horseshoe grille was destroyed, and the repair list quickly became overwhelming. In a car like this, even limited damage comes at an extreme cost. An initial estimate put the parts bill alone at roughly $1.7 million. Faced with the cost and complexity of a proper repair, the insurance company declared the car a total loss. The Chiron Persport was given a salvage title and sent to a Copart auction, effectively written off. For many enthusiasts, it was a sobering moment, with the realization that only 59 Persports were now left in active circulation. If the story had ended with a totaled Bugatti sitting in a salvage yard, it would already be dramatic. But that wasn't the end of it. Things escalated when Bugatti themselves stepped in. After the crash, Bugatti sent a factory technician from Molsheim to inspect the car. The conclusion was clear. The damage was considered too severe, and repairing the car outside factory control was deemed unsafe. Soon after, Bugatti locked the car's VIN in their system. That decision meant no authorized dealer or service center could sell official Bugatti parts for this specific Chiron. In simple terms, the car was blacklisted. Without access to genuine parts, rebuilding it through normal channels became almost impossible. This isn't unusual for Bugatti. When a car is judged beyond safe repair, the company cuts off support to prevent unsafe rebuilds and protect both drivers and the brand's reputation. For Matt Armstrong, this changed everything. He had already heard about the wreck early on and flew to Miami to see the car in person, hoping to secure it before it disappeared for good. Even the journey hinted at trouble ahead, with a minor traffic accident involving one of his team on the way. When Armstrong finally saw the Persport, the damage didn't scare him off. He had rebuilt heavily damaged supercars before. What stopped him was Bugatti's firm refusal to sell parts under any circumstances. In one of his videos, Armstrong explained that the VIN had been fully locked, leaving him shocked at how far Bugatti was willing to go. At that point, there was only one official option left. The car would have to be shipped back to Bugatti's factory in France for an approved rebuild, a process rumored to cost nearly as much as buying another Chiron outright. It was at this dead end that the situation spilled into public view. Frustrated by Bugatti's refusal to supply parts and unwilling to send the car back to France, when the car's owner, Alex Gonzalez, took matters to social media. Frustrated by Bugatti's refusal to cooperate, Alex posted an ultimatum on Instagram, giving the company 24 hours to unblacklist the car, or he would attempt to 3D print the required parts himself. The post spread quickly and poured fuel on an already heated debate. Some people saw it as a bold stand for owner rights and the DIY spirit. Others questioned whether it was reckless to even suggest recreating parts for a multi-million-dollar hypercar. Either way, the story moved from forums and YouTube comments into the wider public spotlight. The response came faster than anyone expected, and it came from the top. Mate Rimac, CEO of Bugatti Rimac, personally reached out to Alex through direct messages after seeing the post. He pushed for a calmer resolution and opened a direct line of communication. Shortly after, it emerged that Bugatti was willing to unblacklist the car and discuss a proper path forward. This led to serious talks behind the scenes. Bugatti's position remained clear. If the car was going to be repaired, they wanted it handled through their own process, with the Persport sent back to France. In the conversation shown on camera, Matt and Alex described two different figures. The first number discussed was around $1.7 million. Later, Alex says Bugatti came back with a second offer in the region of $600,000 to $700,000, with Bugatti carrying out the work and standing behind the result. Even though that second offer sounded far more realistic, Alex still didn't take it. The issue wasn't only the price, it was control and uncertainty. Alex didn't want to hand the car over to France with no clear timeline and no guarantee that extra costs wouldn't appear once the car was in Bugatti's possession. Matt even says that when something looks too good to be true, it can come with strings attached. He also suggests the big price change showed how much Bugatti wanted the car back to protect the brand. So instead of shipping the Persport back to France and ending the story there, Alex chose the risky route, keep the car in Miami and attempt an independent rebuild. With the factory route rejected, Alex handed the wrecked Persport over to Matt Armstrong with a simple but high-risk goal: try to fix it outside Bugatti's system. Armstrong accepted, fully aware of what he was taking on. He now had a 1 of 60 hypercar in pieces, no access to official parts, and an audience watching closely to see if the impossible could actually be done. The early rebuild videos showed just how hard that task would be. As Armstrong's team stripped the damaged front end, they uncovered problems far beyond cracked body panels. What first looked like a small crack in the gearbox housing turned out to be major structural damage, with serious tears in the transmission mounts. These were the kind of issues normally handled with factory equipment, not in an independent workshop. Each new discovery reinforced Bugatti's argument that the car would need to be taken apart at the factory to be repaired properly. Still, Armstrong kept going. He sourced what he could through secondary channels and began digging into part numbers, looking for alternatives. In one video, he noted that some components, like certain airbags, shared part numbers with much more common cars, such as the Audi A3. It suggested that a few items might be replaceable without going through Bugatti, offering a small sense of progress, even if most parts remained out of reach. As the rebuild continued, the story spread fast through the car community. People were stunned by the idea of a YouTuber attempting a repair that insurance companies had written off. The narrative of a creator taking on a hypercar giant caught fire online. When one of Armstrong's update videos passed 6 million views in just a few days, it was clear this was no longer a private project. The attention brought massive support, but it also ensured that Bugatti's leadership could no longer ignore what was happening. As the rebuild video spread and debate intensified online, Mate Rimac decided to address the situation about his brand publicly. In January 2026, the Bugatti Rimac CEO released a video statement explaining the company's position. His tone was calm but firm. He began by pushing back on what he called widespread misinformation about Bugatti repair costs, saying many viral claims were simply wrong.
Let's do a little bit of myth-busting today. There's been lots of talk online about Bugatti service, repair, and maintenance costs recently online, and most of what you hear is simply not true.
One example involved Chiron's headlights. Online figures had put the cost at 150,000 euros, but Rimac clarified the real number was closer to 50,000 euros. Still extremely expensive, but far from the exaggerated claims circulating online. He explained that these prices reflect the reality of building parts for a car produced in tiny numbers, with massive engineering costs spread across very few vehicles.
Just an example, there's online stories about Bugatti headlights being 150,000 per pair, but it's not the case. It's actually 25,000 per headlight, so 50,000 for the full front system.
Rimac then focused on the core issue: safety. Addressing the idea of using non-factory or repurposed components, he said it was not a realistic solution.
The guys recognized that some of the part numbers of the airbag module in the Chiron has the same numbers, not all of them, like an Audi module, and that it could physically fit. So if it fits on the same bolts and you put it in the Chiron now, just because it has the same Audi part, and then someone just puts randomly leather over it, it's really dangerous.
While Bugatti does use advanced manufacturing, many Chiron components require exotic materials, precise tolerances, and complex testing that simply can't be replicated outside the factory. Even parts that appear shared with regular cars can behave differently in a hypercar environment. He pointed to the airbag discussion as an example. While the part numbers may match those used in an Audi, Bugatti discovered during testing that factors related to crash dynamics and calibration could affect deployment. Small details invisible to most rebuilders were engineered specifically to keep occupants safe. Ignoring those details could have serious consequences. Importantly, Rimac made it clear this wasn't personal. He openly praised Matt Armstrong, saying he respected his passion and enjoyed his content, but he drew a hard line when it came to structural repairs on a car like the Chiron. Damage to the carbon fiber monocoque and drivetrain, he argued, was not something that could be responsibly handled outside the factory.
And no disrespect to Matt Armstrong, I think he's doing amazing things. He's a great guy and all of that. Like, I also follow his videos, all good. But we just don't think it's safe.
Rimac ended by confirming that Bugatti's offer to rebuild the car at the factory was real and still stood. He described it as fair and reiterated that it was the safest way to protect the car's future value and usability. While he hinted that social media attention may have influenced the owner's decision, he left the door open. If the car ever returned to Bugatti, they were still willing to fix it properly. With that, Bugatti's stance was clear. This wasn't about ego or control, but about safety, responsibility, and preserving one of the most complex cars ever built. At its core, the clash between Matt Armstrong and Bugatti comes down to a familiar debate in the car world: the right to repair versus the responsibility of building extreme machines. From Armstrong's side, the logic is straightforward. If you own the car, you should be allowed to fix it. His rebuilds appeal to people who believe that with enough skill and effort, no car is truly beyond saving. That underdog mindset, an independent builder challenging a global manufacturer, is a big part of why the story resonates. Bugatti's view is rooted in safety and long-term responsibility. When a company builds a 1,500 horsepower car capable of extreme speeds, even small repair mistakes can have serious consequences. From their perspective, a heavily damaged hypercar repaired outside factory control isn't just risky for the owner. It could be dangerous for anyone who drives it in the future. There's also the question of brand integrity. A poorly repaired Bugatti that later fails would still reflect on the company. That's why Bugatti locked the VIN and refused parts support, making it clear they could only stand behind the car if they repaired it themselves. Other hypercar brands have taken similar positions in the past. The debate over repair costs only added fuel to the fire. While early estimates sounded outrageous, Bugatti argued those figures reflect the reality of developing and certifying parts for cars built in tiny numbers, often with years of maintenance included from the start. In the end, this wasn't merely about one broken car. It was about where the line should be drawn between personal freedom and manufacturer responsibility when the car involved operates at the very edge of what's possible. The controversy quickly spilled into the wider car community, and reactions were sharply divided. Many viewers rallied behind Matt Armstrong, praising the determination to save a rare car that would otherwise be written off forever. From this side, Bugatti's refusal to sell parts felt overly strict and elitist. Once the car was totaled and sold, they argued, the new owner should be free to try and rebuild it. Supporters pointed to Armstrong's past rebuilds and believed that if anyone had a chance of bringing the Persport back, it was him. Others, especially experienced collectors and industry voices, largely sided with Bugatti. On forums and Reddit, many argued that turning down the factory's rebuild offer was a serious mistake. A $600,000 factory repair was seen as more than reasonable. To them, a Bugatti rebuilt outside the official network would always carry doubt. Future buyers value factory certification, and a DIY repaired Persport could suffer heavily in resale value, regardless of how well it runs. Some also questioned the motivations behind pushing ahead independently. Critics suggested that the rebuild's massive online attention played a role, and that the content value of a YouTuber versus Bugatti storyline outweighed the practical benefits of a factory repair. While the project brought huge visibility, it also attracted skepticism and concern from purists who worried the car could become a warning example rather than a success story. The community remains split. If Armstrong succeeds, it could challenge how manufacturers deal with skilled independent builders. If it fails, it may only reinforce Bugatti's argument that some cars are simply too complex and too valuable to be repaired outside the factory. For now, the story is still unfinished. The Bugatti Chiron Persport sits in pieces, and no one knows how it will ultimately end. Matt Armstrong continues the rebuild, and every update pulls viewers back in with the same question: can this car actually be saved without Bugatti's help? Even Armstrong has admitted this is the toughest project of his career. Progress comes in small steps, setbacks arrive just as fast, and without factory support, the odds remain stacked against him. Bugatti's position hasn't changed. As CEO, Mate Rimac has made clear, the company is still willing to repair the car properly at the factory, but it won't compromise on safety by supplying parts for an independent rebuild. The offer remains open, leaving the final call with the owner. That's what makes this story so compelling. It's no longer just about fixing a damaged hypercar. It's about who gets the final say over a machine like this, and what happens when passion, pride, and principles collide. So how does it end? A triumphant comeback that proves the underdog right, or a hard reminder that some cars can only be reborn by the people who built them? For now, the world is watching, waiting to see if this fallen Bugatti will ever rise again. Tuna No Crust, signing off.